Hello and welcome to the Albion Obsessed podcast. You join us on the back of a thrilling 4-1 victory at Goodison Park, where we made Everton look just a little bit silly. But more about that in just a moment. Let's see who we've got on the show today. We welcome back Joe. Joe, mate, how are you feeling? We've just said it pre-record. It's nice to be doing one of these on the back of a win instead of a humiliating defeat.
Yeah, the good thing about the festive period is there's a quick turnaround in fixtures. Some of them don't go your way. Arsenal, we've had our say on that one, and then 3 days later, we're talking about a 4-1 win in the Premier League, which is amazing. I'm feeling really good today. I love Roberto De Zerbi, and because I love Roberto De Zerbi, I'm wearing my lovely Italian shirt as well in reference. So, yeah, up the Italian seagulls.
Up the Italian seagulls, indeed. We also welcome back Aaron. Aaron, how are you, my friend?
Yeah, very well, thank you, Tom. Very well, mate. How about yourself? Are you well?
Well, we're back at school now, and I'm
Yes,
feeling
yeah.
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it.
Yeah,
But
no doubt, mate. No
I
doubt.
won't bore you with the details. We also welcome back Curtis. In fact, this is the same lineup we had last time. Curtis, how have you been since we last spoke?
Pretty good. Yeah. Nothing amazing happened in that time that we. So no, but yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, I'm glad to be here as per usual to talk to you, handsome chaps.
And you're very handsome as well, Curtis. I always tell everyone you're the handsome one. You can pay me later. So it's actually quite funny that we've got the same lineup as we had on the last podcast, because it will be interesting to see how wildly different our emotions are compared to the last game. So let's dive straight in and let's talk about the starting 11, because I think it was a rather bold starting 11 put out from Roberto De Zerbi. I don't think it was much of a surprise to see Caicedo come back, or perhaps even Joel Veltman. But the other two changes that were big calls were dropping Lallana for Sarmiento and Trossard for Ferguson. I mean, Joe, you were raving about Ferguson on our last podcast. Were you pleased to see he made the starting 11?
Absolutely. As I say, he really impressed me against Arsenal. Sarmiento did as well when he came on. I thought, as you say, it was a bold shout for Sarmiento to come in over Lallana, who's been performing exceptionally well this season. Quick turnaround of fixtures at the moment. So that's probably why Lallana sort of played a secondary role in this game. But yeah, I thought it was well deserved for both of them to start. Great to see Caicedo back in the side. It's very clear to see what he gives us when he's not in the side, because you miss him so much. And yeah, to have Ferguson leading the line was spectacular to see. So yeah, all good, and hopefully that can continue and we see him start the next one.
Yeah, let's certainly hope so. I mean, Aaron, beforehand, when we put out our predicted 11s, you made the call about Sarmiento starting. Were you a bit surprised, even by your own admission, that he started ahead of the likes of Lallana or Trossard?
No, I think fresh legs was probably what we needed, really. 72 hours turnaround is a lot for a player of Lallana's, age. Granted, he is probably the fittest he's been for a while, but it's still probably would have been a lot for him to even last an hour, I would say. I think I only got one change wrong. I think I put Lamptey in my 11 instead of Veltman. But other than that, 10 out of 11 is not too bad. So I'll happily take that.
Yeah, you certainly did better than me. Curtis, just a final word from yourself on the changes. And also, we also welcome back Alexis McAllister, who made the bench. How good was it to see our World Cup winner back in our matchday squad?
Oh, fantastic! It's just great to see all those guys back that we missed in the Arsenal game. I mean, I think it was clear yesterday how integral Caicedo is for our style of play. You can't help but think if he was in that Arsenal game, that might be a lot different. But yeah, I mean, seeing McAllister come on, for the short amount of time that he did come on, it was fantastic, so good. Just really happy, really happy with everything.
Yeah, let's analyze, I suppose, why we're also happy. Aaron, I'm going to come to you first, mate, because one of the first talking points I wanted to discuss with you guys was the early save from Sanchez. About 5 minutes in, I think Everton showed in the first half, at the beginning of the half, and at the end of the half, they did put us under quite a bit of pressure. And Big Bob made a smart stop in about the 5th minute, where he denied Iwobi, who found himself in the box with the ball. After his performance against Arsenal, Aaron, how important do you think that was for Sanchez's confidence, getting in that early set?
I think he started pretty well as well, to be honest. Even with their through couple of corners, he came out and claimed them, crosses, he claimed them, which helps massively. Your confidence starts to build from there, and it was a good save. It's a save you expect him to make, but it would have done his confidence a world of good, without a doubt. And I think we'll go on to it later. But I have different views on what happened with the penalty, but we'll go on to that a bit later on. But no, I think that would do his, like I said, confidence a world of good. And it looked a bit more settled at the back. It seemed a bit more. Everyone seemed to be on the same page, not unlike the Arsenal game where everyone seemed a little bit off. And it was nice to see.
Aaron, do you think, you say that, I think I very much agree with you that the back four seemed a lot more settled. Do you think that's because we've reverted to a more familiar back four with Veltman coming in? Do you think that might be because Lamptey perhaps enjoys bombing on forward more than Veltman, so there's a bit more security at the back?
I think so. And obviously Arsenal and Everton are two different creatures. Arsenal are very quick on the break, very technical, where Everton are not saying they're route one, but they're more physical. Calvert-Lewin, good in the air, big lad, Tarkowski, etc. They're all good, tall footballers. They're just strong lads. I think that suits us to the ground, really. When we're playing teams like that, even Arsenal to a certain degree, when they started passing it around our defence, we seemed a little bit scared, which we don't really seem to happen very often this year. But yeah, it did. And with Veltman coming in, I think it just shored it up. I just think it just generally shored the defence up. It felt like there was 3 centre backs and Purvis. Instead of having a right wing back, a right back, and a left back, and then just the 2 of them on their own. That's how good Veltman is. And the fact we got him from under a mill still is an absolute joke, by the way. I don't think that gets spoken enough about. It's baffling, generally.
Yeah, I think Veltman has quickly become one of the first names on the team sheet for me. He's just so dependable, so consistent, and I think he was definitely in the running for Player of the Season last season, pipped of course by Mark Cucurella. And I think when he's not in the squad, you see what his absence brings, and normally not in a positive way. It's normally we miss him. So yeah.
I still think the Zerbi made the right call playing Lamptey against Arsenal. Personally, I think just because the sheer pace of Martinelli, I think he probably would have struggled. But can't take anything away from Veltman this year, to be honest, or even last night.
Yeah, it was absolutely superb. We'll talk about it later, but I bet the backline were absolutely gutted about not keeping the clean sheet, but more about that later. Joe, let's talk about our man, Kaoru Mitoma. I am once again representing Kaoru Mitoma. I do wash, I promise. But after last night, I couldn't not wear this T-shirt because he was sensational in that first half. He had an early chance, a lovely ball from March, floated into towards the back post. Mitoma, big chance to go 1-0 up. Unfortunately, he misses. I was a bit disappointed with that with myself. However, that disappointment quickly evaporated, Joe, with an absolute stunning goal. So let's just relive that goal, shall we? Because Caicedo's crossfield pass for the first goal was absolutely sensational. We have to acknowledge that the Everton defender ballsed up. You have to say that, because I think he's misjudged it. But let's not take anything away from that pass, because if Kevin De Bruyne had made that pass, they'd be going on about it for weeks on Match of the Day. A lovely crossfield pass. Matoma's touch takes him into the box. He feigns to shoot, then does, and finishes with a plum. Joe, what did you make of that first goal?
Thing is, on Caicedo's pass, maybe he fluffed it up because of how much it moves. Because there is an angle in the highlights where you see how much that ball moves. And that must have been a really hard pass to defend against. So I really think that Caicedo deserves all the plaudits for that, to be honest. And let's just talk about how that pass was received. I mean, I don't think I've seen a Brighton player ever do something like that. It was just absolutely ridiculous. And there was an article or a tweet earlier on, which I shared with you guys on Albion Obsessed group chat, that Mitoma rejected a professional contract, to go to university, and his assessment was on players' movements, and he did his thesis on it, and it's actually online if you want to read it. And just seeing that intelligence from a Brighton player, just to knock it into that space, with the pace, is just absolutely unreal. Like, I saw some people comparing it to prime Gareth Bale, and it was just absolutely insane. And the finish as well through the defender's legs. And we've been screaming for a player like Kaoru Mitoma for so long, probably since Championship knockout. I would say he's probably the player that we all hoped and expected knockout to be in the Premier League, but that never turned out to be. But yeah, what an option to have going forwards, because you just know his one aim is to attack with pace, take defenders on, and get the ball in the net. And again, that sounds really silly to say that, because that's the whole aim of football. But you see so often wingers trying to take people on 3 or 4 times. It's like, just beat the man and get to your target. And Kaoru Mitoma does that. And we're so lucky to have him in our side.
Yeah, we certainly are. I think, some of the things that I heard Everton's fans saying. I think Johnny Cantor also put out a tweet saying that at halftime, some of the Evertonian people in the media people they were raving about him. I would actually go one step further, Joe. I mean, I don't want to give across the impression that I dislike Trossard, because I don't. But he is becoming the player I hoped Trossard would be when Trossard was brought in to replace Anthony Knockaert. But talking of Anthony Knockaert, Aaron, do you think Kaoru Mitoma is the most exciting player we've had since Anthony Knockaert?
I think he's got to be up there. I mean, he has to be. He has at the moment, or is showing at the moment, he's got a lot. He's got pace, he's got skill, he's got ability. He is showing real signs of becoming a world-class player. And yet again, our scouting system has done absolute wonders yet again. I'm not even trying to even sound big-headed, but we probably got one of the best scouting systems in world football, bar none. We keep finding these gems out of absolutely nowhere. And I don't think it's starting to get spoken about, but we've known this for a while, that we've got some real talent in our under-23s and pushing around in our first team, and it never really get mentioned. But now it's just a common thing, and Mitoma is one of those. He's one of the new boys on the block that are actually making an impact. He was good at last year in Belgium. Everyone was saying, "No, watch out for him. He's going to be good." And obviously, we've got another loanee out there. I can't pronounce his name. Simon Steingraber. Yeah, he's out there at the moment, and they're saying he's doing the same thing. He's direct, he's quick, he can finish. If like I said last week with the Arsenal podcast, if we lose Trossard, I don't think it'll be the end of the world. I feel like we've got players coming through, and we'll have the money to sign someone. We're an attractive club, so why wouldn't they want to come here? But yeah, Mitoma definitely has to be one of the most exciting players we've got at the club at the moment. Has to be. I think I can see he generally is looking like a world beater at the moment.
Yeah, he really is. He's again, where I say about Veltman, one of the first names on the team sheet. I would almost go as far as say the starting 11 at the moment picks itself. Kurtis, I mean, Aaron mentioned there about how our youth system and our scouting system is top notch. One of the gems that we've unearthed here is young Evan Ferguson, who we know, of course, scored against Arsenal. And he made himself an absolute handful against Everton. We will, of course, come on to his goal contribution a bit later. But let's talk about how in the first half, he had a shot that hit the post off, I think it was like a half volley on the turn. I mean, You've got to have you've got to be confident to try that, because a lot of players would have taken the touch and then, tried to turn their body as such, but not Evan Ferguson. First time on the twist. What did you make of his first half performance?
Well, me and my brother were watching highlights after the game, and my brother went, "Oh, but it's nice to have a striker that tries to get goals. Actually just takes the shots and stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, I was like, yeah, I didn't really think about it like before because we have a lot of players who, like Trossard, I'll give you an example of it. He does quite a lot when he's in the box to try and get that goal, right? But Ferguson just lumps it, and it's quite refreshing to have a striker that just takes these shots, is not afraid to do it. And as you've mentioned, I think it's testament to our academy and our scouting systems and stuff. We've got such an exciting young individual coming through who's now scored 2 in 2 games, and I can't see him being dropped either. I mean, who have we got next? We've got a cup game, don't we? Middlesbrough.
We've got Middlesbrough in the cup.
Oh, he's definitely playing there.
I wouldn't start him.
You wouldn't? Oh,
no.
You'd save him for Liverpool, would you?
Yeah, I'd save him for Liverpool.
Actually, that's more sensible. Yeah,
and that's. I mean, I was. I'll hold my hand. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm still. Evan Ferguson is obviously a highly rated talent, and I have read online today that apparently there was a view to loan him out in January, but that has apparently been scuppered now because of his performances. Obviously, great for us. I'm still slightly wary of putting too much pressure on him too young.
Are you worried about the Connolly effect?
I wouldn't even call it the Connolly effect. I mean, it's that sort of the fear that he might, take it for granted. He seems a lot more down to earth than Connolly from the interviews and what I've read. But even so, there's still a slight part of me that's a bit sort of, I don't want to put too much pressure on him too young, because all it takes is him to have a bad game, fans to get on his back, and so on.
We'll just have to see how it pans out, because this is the thing though. Football's quite a weird creature, but we're all bigging him up here. But say in a cup game or the Liverpool game, he might not score, he might have a bad game, and then everyone's just on him about it. And even though it's a team game, a team performance, if we don't say give these players the chance to get these goals, then they're not going to get the goals. So it's as simple as that, really. I'm really excited for him, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, he's been an absolute revelation. I mean, Joe, I don't think I did put it on the group chat last night, but I was really tempted. I think Evan Ferguson has done more as a centre forward in in one full game than Welbeck and Trossard have done all season. I mean, am I getting too hyped up here, Joe? But I just think of the hold-up play, the tenacity to shoot and to have a go. It's not just the goals for me; it's his movement, it's his strength. Do you think I'm getting on the hype train too much?
I think with Trossard in that conversation, maybe a little bit too far, because I think Trossard's given
as a centre forward. I stress. Yeah. So obviously, Trossard as a winger is a different kettle of fish, but as a centre forward.
He has had moments, though, where he's played through the centre and done really well for us. I believe he played that role versus Chelsea, did really well. Played that role versus Liverpool away and got a hat-trick. So I think at the moment, Trossard's in a poor reign of form, and I think it's very easy for us to forget about what he's given us. I absolutely get what you're saying about centre-forward. Brighton fans, know that he's not the preferred option there. On his day, he can give us everything, but when he's off it, he's off it. But I think we are right to be excited about Evan Ferguson. We've not had a striker like this since Glenn Murray. A lot of people are saying, and his goal was a classic centre forwards finish, and his movement is a classic centre forwards movement. He drops deep. He looks for the ball. He makes runs. He's always asking for the ball at his feet. He's not afraid. He's always having shots. There was one shot which just went over the bar in the first half, which would have been an absolute screamer. So we're right to be excited. We are, and I think we're allowed to be excited. But I urge people just to give him time if his form is to dip, because he's 18 years old. He's not the finished article yet, but he will be if we give him the support needed.
Yeah, I think that's the key word there, Joe. Support, isn't it? And it's I'm sure the club have got loads of people that work with the younger players to keep their feet on the ground, as it were. But no, what a terrific start to his professional career at Brighton he's had. One thing just before we sort of like round off the half, I suppose, is in the first half hour, and I really appreciated the fact that Ferguson made a foul to get the ball out of play when Mitoma went down heavily in the box because Everton weren't putting the ball out, and Ferguson just clattered into Gay, and Everton got all up in his grill about it. But for me, that shows quite a lot of maturity to put in that professional foul to get the ball out of play. What did you make of that?
Yeah, no, I agree. It just shows sort of a bit of football intelligence. Just your teammates down, you're down, in theory, you're down to 10 men. Just concede a foul. People say, "Oh, it's a cheap foul," but it's a smart foul. It's what they call it in the game. It's one of those, you take one for the team, and I think that it just shows his intelligence. He's already shown enough intelligence in the last game and a half than Connolly ever did, really. And that's no disrespect to Aaron. He had his good game against Tottenham, but he's done very little since then. And to compare the two is a little bit different. They're different types of strikers. I think Ferguson's a bit more of an old-fashioned striker, where Connolly's sort of similar to Trossard in a way. He's small and quick, but Trossard's obviously a million times better than Connolly. I'm better than Connolly, but that's not the point. But yeah, no, it just shows his football intelligence, and I like that.
Yeah, he's we're gonna keep.
By the way, I don't know if you saw. Joe posted this to the group chat, and this is also for the listeners that don't know this. That at aged 18 years and 76 days old, Evan Ferguson is now the youngest player to score consecutive Premier League appearances since Federico Macheda, I think it is.
Macheda
of Man United,
which is mad.
Was that 2007?
2009.
2009. Okay. I mean, that's just crazy, isn't it? And we're going to keep the Evan Ferguson love train going. We're going to talk about his goal now because, again, it all comes, Kurtis, from a Caicedo crossfield pass. Some lovely interplay between Mitoma and then Stupinian on the left, who then threads the ball into Sarmiento, skips away from one of his defenders and then squares it to Ferguson, who slams it into the roof of the net from 8 yards. I mean, just how fantastic must that feel for young Evan Ferguson to get a goal in a game where they're actually winning as well?
I mean, and not only that, I think it's really fantastic for Jeremy as well, who was arguably struggling a little bit before that. Maybe didn't look quite on it. So for him, that will be a huge boost for his game. But excellent just to see these young players kicking on and doing really, really well. And I just think it was a really good team goal. I think everyone did what they needed to do, and we got a good product out of it. So I was just very happy in that sense.
Yeah, and I've been screaming out for a team goal because we see some of these lovely, wonderful moves, and then they sometimes don't end in a goal. But it was a perfect way, and I think you're right, Kurtis. I think that Sarmiento struggled a little bit in that 10 role, maybe with his defensive duties a little bit. But it must be so fantastic for Jeremy to not only to start but also to get an assist as well. And again, there's so many fantastic interchanges and plays involved in that goal. And Joe, it sparked off, 6-7 minutes of absolute madness in which Brighton ran rampant. And it was your boy, Solly March, to make it 3. And just before the game started, you shared a tweet that you had found on Twitter that says something along the lines of, "Oh, why is this joker," as in Zerbi, "still playing Solly March?" That, whoever you were, is why he plays Solly March. Joe, talk us through Solly March's goal for us then, because it was a lovely bit of play, and I did appreciate the fact that he put one of the Everton defenders on the ground.
He didn't put him on the ground. He put him to sleep, Tom. I think he's still there. Tarkowski, yeah, what a joke of a centre-back, by the way. Solly March, right. What I'll say to the fans that still don't like him, if you're listening to this and you don't like Solly March, drop the agenda, honestly, because I don't know what more the boy has to do to prove that he deserves to start in this team and deserves to be playing at the highest level possible. I saw people at the start of the season saying, "Oh, get him out to the championship, get this, that, and the other." I just don't. I don't understand the thought process, Tom, behind it. That people have bantered me before because I've spoken about his work rate being next level. But it is, he gives so much to this team. He gives so much to this football club. He's given so much to this football club. It's about time that every fan respects what he's done and what he continues to do. And he's only going to get better under De Zerbi. I said it on the last podcast. Solly March under De Zerbi is just a different animal. And he's now adding goals. It's great. He obviously has struggled. He's made it aware that he's been struggling in front of goal, but just look how delighted he is to finally. And yeah, you can say, "Oh, it's the poor defending. It's Tarkowski not standing up to the play," but Solly March puts that fear into them and just makes them go into a complete frenzy and gets that space to score the goal. So it's so good to see him do well, and every time he does well, I'm just sat there sipping my tea, none of my business. But yeah, as I say, Tarkowski's still asleep at Goodison Park. So if anyone's going past there, just pop into the 18-yard box and wake him up.
Yeah,
See,
I mean,
I'm not gonna disagree with the Tarkowski comment. He does slip. And he can't gain his footing back. Hence why he just flops.
It's hilarious.
It was hilarious.
And you
It was
you
funny.
see him
Don't
afterwards.
get me wrong.
Hilarious defending we're going to talk about either.
Honestly,
don't
you
get
see
me
him
wrong.
afterwards trying to justify why he did what he did to Pickford. He's like, "Oh, I was trying to header it away," and it's like, you messed up.
It was very sort of Phil Jones-esque sort of defending. And that's not even a dig at Phil Jones, to be really honest. It's just some of the comical things that he would do. But he does slip. He does slip. And to be fair, Tarkowski, it is funny. Tarkowski's been probably one of their best defenders this year, and we've made him look like championship fodder.
And Solly March has done that. So
yeah, and Evan Ferguson, 18-year-old Evan Ferguson made Tarkowski. And what's the other one? Cody. He made two guys that have played for England look,
Did Cody play last night?
Yep.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
Christ.
He got absolutely demolished on multiple occasions.
Ferguson was just literally sat in between them, and he was causing havoc.
For Mitoma's goal, honestly, it looks like Cody's running off on holiday. He's so scared. It's so funny.
How Cody gets in the England squad ahead of Dunk is just mind-boggling.
He went to the World Cup. Tom.
I don't care.
I completely forgot that until I read that last night. I was like, oh yeah, he was there, wasn't he?
The thing is with the whole Dunk comment there, I don't think Dunk should be in the England squad at the moment anyway. I feel like he's played better and not got picked. So I don't think he's playing at the best he has been, and I feel like that agenda is now sort of a little bit dead in the water. And that's coming from me, who's the massive anti-Southgate fan that I am. I don't blame him for not picking Dunk.
Unfortunately, I think I agree. I think that ship sort of sailed on that.
Completely off topic, by the way, gents. I'd like to point that out. But yeah, that's my opinion. I feel like that ship has sailed. I still think Southgate's a fraud. I don't really care what anyone else thinks.
No, Aaron, tell us what you really think.
Aaron, where were you when we had our Christmas episode? I could have used your help.
Let's talk about Brighton, shall we?
Let's talk about Solly March just a little bit more, because I wanted to pick up on what you just said, Joe, about Solly March under Roberto De Zerbi. Joe, just really quickly, do you think that since Roberto De Zerbi has come in, it's almost just completely changed the way Solly March plays? In terms of he's a bit more direct, and he just seems to be flourishing under the new manager. Do you think he's one of these players that have benefited massively from Potter leaving?
Yeah, I think so. I think you probably see the same struggles in Chelsea players that Solly March was having, playing Raheem Sterling at wing back or Hakim Ziyech at wing back. It's holding them back essentially, and probably not getting the confidence from the previous manager to do what he's doing. And you know, we've said it so many times, so many managers have rated Solly March, and that's why he stayed in the Brighton team for so long. But I think De Zerbi is a different beast of a manager altogether. We have 100% upgraded from Graham Potter. Chelsea have done us the biggest favour they could have possibly done us. So I can't remember who said it. I think it was you, Curtis. I'm not even angry at Chelsea anymore. I'm really not. Because they've done us the biggest favour in giving us De Zerbi, giving us the Italian mentality, and what he's given to our players has just been next level. I honestly, again, we're 11 Premier League games in under De Zerbi, but I really think he could go on to be even better than what Graham Potter was for us. It's an early call, but I really think so, and he's given Solly March exactly what he's needed to go and flourish, and I'm just so happy for Solly because I've been his biggest supporter through everything. So yeah, it's just great to see, and he's justified getting the number 7 shirt as well. People were laughing at that when he got given number 7. He's doing the number justice.
He certainly is. Thank you for that, Joe. We talked a little bit about the comical defending. Let's talk, Aaron, about one of the most comical free kick routines that you'll ever see from Everton, which led to our 4th goal. Free kick comes in, sails over absolutely everyone. Everton play it back, and then Gay's back pass is, I don't even know what he's attempting to do. And one of the strangest sights in football that you're ever going to see is Pascal Gross outpacing anyone.
The pace king, everyone.
So Pascal, he beats the defender for pace, something that I never thought I'd ever say. And then he dinks it. It was a lovely little dink over Pickford. But what an absolute howler from Everton there.
I think that just really summed up their night in one passage of play, really. Too casual on the free kick, goes over everyone. Guy takes out Purvis when he plays the ball back in field. Idrissa Gay, I think so, he passed it so confidently. He was like, yeah, that's a good pass. And then realises there's no one around it for about 20 yards, apart from Pascal Gross, who is not the quickest. And the fact is he is full-blown Usain Bolt it towards a goal, and still no one catches him. It's baffling. And the finish itself, it was a fantastic finish because Pickford doesn't go to ground. Like he makes himself big. It's a really, really difficult finish, and he made it look easy. And yeah, the boos when that went in were quite amusing, to be fair. And it was one of those things where I remember messaging Ellie going, "Oh, we're 2-0 up," and then 3-0. What the hell is happening? 4-0. What is going on? And it was just nuts. Just I was sort of laid in bed, like, yeah, I'm going to go to bed now. I'm pretty sure we're going to win this game. Had on in the background because I had to get up at stupid o'clock this morning. But yeah, it was just really just summed up Everton in a nutshell, and I think it just sums up Lampard as a manager, in my opinion. I think he's got too big too soon. Should have stayed at Derby when he had the chance to go to Chelsea. I think the whole Chelsea thing screwed him over. Same as Gerrard. World-class footballers don't make very good managers. It's very rare.
Yeah, very rare indeed. And I think, and it's worth saying that all this stuff we've just talked about happened in the space of about 6-7 minutes. It was a complete and utter capitulation from Everton. And I think, as you say, Aaron, that's probably down to the mentality. Perhaps that's just not there from Frank Lampard. He just doesn't have that sort of, man management skills to deal with that. But I do think that, the players need to look at themselves from Everton's perspective because, it was just shambolic. So that sort of summed up the scoring from our parts, but there's still quite a bit to talk about. One of the things I wanted to talk about, Curtis, was some of the substitutions we made. As we've already talked about, we started with Sarmiento and Ferguson, which I think was a really bold call that, Roberto De Zerbi got absolutely spot on. McAllister came back, which was lovely to see him back on the pitch, and Ciso came on. And then also Moran came on as well. so we started with some really young players and we ended with some really young players, and we've, Aaron's already touched upon how good our scouting network is. I mean, how great must it be for these young prospects seeing Ferguson and Sarmiento start, Ferguson score with the assist, as we say, coming from Sarmiento. Ferguson then assists March, and then Enciso Moran come on. If I was a young player, I'd love to play for Brighton. Absolutely love it, because you can almost guarantee that you're going to get given your chance if you're good enough.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think it was a testament to everything that De Zerbi did last night. That after we were 4-0 up, he was like, right, let's just chuck on some of the youngsters,
And a
like,
World Cup winner.
Yeah. Like, it's like we're Brighton of Albion, we're taking the piss. It is essentially that. Like, it was just no, but it was really good to see people like, especially Moran play. I mean, he's not someone that I have had much experience to see play, but I've seen his name and stuff like that. But I'm glad that he's still giving chances to young lads to show their quality, and it's just really, really exciting time for us at the moment. Just seeing these young talents coming through, and yeah, it's really, really good.
It certainly was. And talking of young talents, I believe the club announced they signed a young Irish player just today. And again, if I was this young player, I'd be thinking, right, I mean, we've talked about him, but, Aaron Connolly's made the squad. Evan Ferguson's made the squad. Moran's come on to make his first Premier League debut at the age of, I think, like 18, 17. And just really quickly, I heard someone describe him as the Irish Phil Foden. Now, I know that, a lot of these things are, it's the Brazilian Gascoigne, or, it's the, what do they say about Paddy McCourt? It's the Deli Pele. So, I know these things get banded around quite a lot, but, I think he's very highly thought of. So hopefully, we'll see a lot more of him in the future as well, perhaps even against Middlesbrough in the Cup. So it was a really, really nice to see that, the De Zerbi's giving these youngsters a chance. I mean, we thought we had it good with Potter, but De Zerbi seems to be really bold, which I really, really appreciate. And it could have gone horribly wrong, but it didn't. One thing that didn't go quite as to plan, Joe, was the keeping of the clean sheet. You could almost be forgiven for just forgetting about the rest of the game, almost, because it became pedestrian for Albion. They were playing very much in first, second gear. We could have probably scored more. Eventually, though, Everton did break their way into the box. Purvis Estupiñán makes an absolute absolute howler from Purvis. Sanchez comes out and takes out, I think it was a Iwobi. I mean, it was poor from Purvis. Probably not, having seen the replays, probably not all down to Sanchez, but just a bit of a shame, to not keep that clean sheet.
Yeah, massive shame. And obviously, De Zerbi's comments after the game, we know how much of a perfectionist he is. Tom, you said he very much reminds you of a certain Gus Poyet, always searching for that that perfection. And it's a really good mentality to have to install into your players, that no matter what, like on a different day, that could change the game. If we're not 4-0 up and you make that mistake, then the game could possibly be lost at that moment. I think it was quite late on in the game. Forgive me, I can't remember, because I just turned off I didn't turn off. I was still watching the game, but sort of mentally switched off from it all because we were just cruising.
Yeah, it was around like 87 minutes. It was pretty late in the game. But
so yeah, you make that mistake at 0-0. You're giving them a penalty, and whether that happens, if you're at 0-0, but you're losing the game. And yeah, it was clumsy from Estupiñán. Something that sort of has to be coached out of him, because he does make a few defensive mistakes. Excellent going forwards. I give him his credit there. But yeah, it's just one of those things where when you're 4-0 up, I'm not De Zerbi. I'm not looking for the perfection, so I'm like, nah. Oh well.
Yeah, I mean, I said he reminds me, De Zerbi, this is, of Gus Poyet. Because remember, like when we were having our League One promotion season, you'd go out and you might win a game, say 4-2 or something, and Gus would still come out in the post match and say that he was unhappy. And Roberto De Zerbi did that yesterday. He said that the first half wasn't good enough, and you're thinking, but we came in at 1-0. It could have been 2-0, but it's the never-ending quest for perfection that I really admire about De Zerbi. And now, Aaron, I mean, if you were Sanchez, you'd be fuming, wouldn't you, at Purvis? Because Purvis should have dealt with that.
Yeah, I would have lost my shit, being pretty honest with you. You just get it out. You're 4-0 up. I don't know what he's trying to achieve. I don't get it. I just didn't really understand. And then people say in Sanchez, if Purvis does his job, Sanchez doesn't make that mistake. As simple as. And it's not even one of those mistakes where you go, oh, he had to be there. Well, he didn't, because Purvis could have quite easily cleared his lines and it wouldn't have happened. But because Purvis is jumping around willy-nilly and the Sanchez has had to come, he knows he's not getting there. As soon as he started, it's very unlikely he's getting there. But once you've come, you've got to keep going. And yeah, it results in a penalty, and we all know what happens from there. It's a normal thing. We consider 6 penalties this year, by the way. That's the most in the Premier League. And I'm pretty sure it's been like 5 penalties in the last like 10 games. It's something ridiculous like that. It feels like we concede a penalty every other game. And it's just not even individual errors. It's just a bit naive defending at times. Dunk's handball, granted, it's harsh, but it's handball, against Wolves. Then you've got the Southampton one, still not a penalty for me. I get why it's given, but it shouldn't have been given. And then we've got yesterday's one where, it's stonewall. I can't really complain about it, but it should have happened. And like Joe said, if that mistake's made at 0-0, a whole different story. A whole different story. As a goalkeeper, conceding it is one of the most frustrating things when you've had absolutely nothing to do all game. Like, he's had nothing to do for 80 minutes pretty much. Apart from maybe a couple of kicks and a couple of catches, that's it. And then to see one of your defenders make a mistake like that and then put you in a position that you may have to concede a penalty, and he does, then it's just frustrating. And Sanchez's reaction after that going in, I've done the exact same thing. After doing nothing all game, but I've somehow conceded. And everyone's like, oh, it's fine, we still won. I don't care. I really would not care. Like, for me, a clean sheet is better than scoring a goal, winning the game. If I keep a clean sheet and play well, that's all I care about. As a goalkeeper, not even being selfish, that's how it should be. Strikers' job is to score goals. Goalkeeper's job is to keep goals out.
Yeah,
and I feel like we're not.
Well,
yeah, I'm not surprised. Well, there goes their clean sheet bonus for a start. Times are hard, Thomas. Times are hard.
Yeah, that must be really hard when you're earning like 60 grand a week.
Yeah, I know, right? Jeez, how will they cope, Tom? How will they cope? But yeah, I think the reaction is justified of the Zerbi as well. May I add? I think if it's not a bad thing to be a perfectionist, in my opinion, and I think it really did show a different side to him, because you would think he'd be quite pleased. 4-1 win away from home. It's probably the first time I've seen him really be like, yeah, no, that wasn't good enough. First half poor, second half very good, ended badly. It's like, Jesus. It's like, all right, that's what you want to see. Instead of Potter, it would be the boys gave it everything.
We have to suffer. We came here. We have to suffer, but we'll take the positives.
Yeah, and now the Chelsea fans have to deal with him. It's just outstanding. Seeing on Twitter, seeing the Twitter meltdown after that Forest game was brilliant.
I'm here for it.
Yeah,
we'll talk a bit about Glow Up Graham in just a little while, but really briefly, might I add. Just really quickly, guys, I'm going to come to you each in turn. I'm just going to get you man of the match, if I may, and then we're just going to talk a little bit about a couple of things afterwards, and then we'll wrap up the episode by looking ahead to Middlesbrough. So, Kurtis, I'm going to come to you first, if that's okay. Could I please get your man of the match?
See, this is difficult because it's between two individuals for me. I think it's between Caicedo and Mitoma for me. I'm probably going to have to give it to Caicedo, I think, because he looked just so impressive yesterday. And I feel like you could have given it to, the goal scorers. Absolutely. I thought Gross had a really good game yesterday too, really understated. But that isn't that good. Like when you're struggling to decide because so many of them were really bloody good. But yeah, I'll give it to Caicedo.
Very good. Yeah, it was fantastic to see Caicedo back. Joe, who was your man of the match, please?
Oh, this is such a tough question. I'll give it to Evan Ferguson. Just because we've got a goal scorer. I'm so happy. I don't want to put too much pressure on him, but yeah, I thought he played a perfect game. As Kurtis says, you could give it to literally anyone. So yeah, Ferguson for me.
Very nice, very nice. And finally, Aaron, who was your man of the match, please?
Probably we have to go for Mitoma. I think he played very. He was the catalyst to start everything off. Honourable mentions to Caicedo and obviously Ferguson. I think Ferguson, is very, very close second for that. I think his hold-up play was class. It's something we've been missing, and I've seen a lot of people on Twitter saying, we finally found our Glenn Murray replacement. It's just taken 4 years, but we finally got one. And again, don't want to put any pressure on him at all, but he would be Brighton's Premier League all-time goal scorer.
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, it's funny, isn't it? We when we spoke to Peter Ward, I asked him how he felt about how every striker since has been compared to Peter Ward, and since Murray, every striker since has been compared to Murray. And as you say, like it finally looks like we found someone who's in that same mold. And Evan is my man of the match as well, just because I think to come in at 18 and to make 2 international, centre backs, as you say, Aaron, look, championship is I mean, I know Everton are going through a lot of problems there, but even so, they just held City to a draw, and Evan Ferguson comes along and causes them all sorts of problems. But no, Mitoma, Caicedo, excellent. Gross, as you say, Kurtis, very understated, but I'm going to have to give it to Evan just for, an absolute fantastic match for the young man. I mean, absolutely brilliant. And this comes on to the first. What am I looking at? Oh, yeah. What a lovely picture that is, Kurtis. What a lovely picture. So let's talk, boys, really quick, just before we look ahead to Middlesbrough, if we can, about 2 things I want to chat to you about. So the first one is a stat that Andy Naylor tweeted out last night. And it's a stat that I was like, I just couldn't believe. Bearing in mind that for a long time, a lot of the pundits, even myself, has said, oh, Brighton need a goal scorer. Brighton don't score enough goals. In the last 6 Premier League games, 7 different players have been on the score sheet, and we have scored 17 goals. So that's the stat. And then this is the talking point. Since Roberto De Zerbi's come in, Joe, you say 11 games? Yeah. In those 11 games, is it too early to say that maybe the reason we didn't score goals was because of a certain Graham Potter?
Yes.
I love it. No beating around the bush from Aaron. Just simply yes.
I
Joe,
think-
I was going to bring this up myself.
I think without playing, now we're playing wingers and actual wingers, not wing backs, and I think that's made a massive difference. It's made us a goal scoring threat from either side. It's made our strikers actually play more of as a free instead of just a lone man with wing backs bombing on. It's made a difference. I'm not saying it's Potter's, was being negative. It's just the way he set it up, and it's the way he set it up. It worked. We can't sit here and say no, it didn't work. Do we still need a goal scorer? Yes. I even stats won't last forever. It's nice to finally get goals from elsewhere than up front, but at the end of the day, we still do need a striker. That's my personal opinion. Not slating Ferguson, not going to slander Ferguson, Welbeck, etc. But if one of them gets injured, like Welbeck, then we're just down to Ferguson and Trossard. Ferguson's 18. Trossard's a winger. We still need another striker. Yeah. We just do. It's just not fair on putting the pressure on an 18-year-old and a winger / striker. It's just that's my personal opinion. Other people may find that different. That wasn't me just saying. I don't know what the hell that was. What is happening in this household? Jesus Christ!
Everton fan with a
Animals!
chainsaw out there.
Christ!
Please keep
Yeah,
that
and
in.
it's just
If Aaron's
It's
not on
just-
the next podcast, you know why.
yeah, we know why I'm gonna get
He's
murdered in my
been
sleep.
killed.
Chance will be a fine fucking thing, I'll tell you, Christ. Yeah, that's my opinion. I don't really need a striker, so I'll stand by that.
Good skills, good skills. I mean, Joe, really quickly then, that stat, 17 goals, last 6 Premier League games, high scoring games. We've spoken already about how we think that De Zerbi has elevated this squad. Do you think almost Graham Potter was holding us back? As mad as that is to say?
Oh, Aaron's gone. See, I don't right. We can sit here and we can slate Graham Potter now he's gone and he left in the way he did. He gave us a really good foundation. He got us playing some really lovely football. He got us some fantastic results. Aaron is back. Let me add him. And yeah, I don't think we can sit here and say, oh, he was holding us back. I think the right thing to say is what you just said, Tom. De Zerbi has elevated us. He's taken that next step, just like Graham Potter elevated us from Chris Hughton. So I don't think it's overly fair for us to sit here and say, yeah, Graham Potter, he wasn't ever going to take us any further, because before he left, we were playing some fantastic football. We were scoring goals, and life was good. And our reaction when he left was, how are we ever going to move on from this? What are we going to do? But now we've got De Zerbi. He's taken us to a new level, and life is amazing. So, yeah, I think all the credit has to go to Roberto De Zerbi for picking up a squad that were 4th in the Premier League, and just running with it.
Definitely. And Curtis, really quickly, same sort of tone of question, I suppose. De Zerbi, has he elevated this squad? And do you feel, similar to Aaron, how that change of perhaps style and formation has really benefited the team?
I mean, kind of a boring response, but I have to echo a lot of what Joe and what Aaron was saying. I just feel like De Zerbi took what we already had, and that was a really good foundation, as Joe mentioned, a load of really good players. And, what Aaron said, he actually utilised a different game plan and utilising wingers and the like. And it's really, really worked for us. And yeah, like Joe said, he's just taken what we had and he's put it up a gear, and it's really paying off for us. So, I'm not going to sit here and say Graham was the problem, but he certainly wasn't the solution to some of our issues either.
I'll tell you what, though, I was actually genuinely worried when the name of Roberto De Zerbi was mentioned, and I looked him up and I saw his preferred formation, etc. I was genuinely worried that he wanted to play or prefers to play 4 at the back, because we know how much that doesn't or didn't work under Graham Potter, and I was wondering, do we have the players to play his system? And he's come in and within a few games, he's got us playing exactly the way he wants us to play football. From a fan's perspective, obviously from his perspective, he wants to carry on improving. But we're seeing some amazing football, amazing goals, amazing games. So yeah, hats off to him for turning a system which Graham Potter tried to utilize sometimes into some incredible match-winning performances.
I think there has generally been a trend this season, especially, of going away from a back 3 and going more towards a back 4, because we saw it for a couple of seasons, back 3, back 5, whatever you want to call it. But now that's happening less and less. And, credit to De Zerbi for having the courage to do that. Because as you say, Joe, for a long time under Potter, whenever we played a back 4, we were like, nah, we can't play a back 4. We can't do it. And I'll just echo what I said.
Burnley at home.
Yeah. I'll just echo really briefly what I said when I had the pleasure of chatting to 5 Live this morning about the game last night. And I'll just echo that what I said there about how, if you had told me this a few months ago, straight after Graham Potter's departure, I would have thought you were lying. I genuinely, as you say, Joe, I couldn't see how someone could come in and do better but I think we found that man in Roberto De Zerbi. Just as we approach the hour, then, gents, let's really briefly look ahead to our next game, which again is against Middlesbrough in the cup. Joe, would you start a strong side, keep that momentum going, or would you be more inclined to play, for want of a better phrase, the kids?
I would start a strong team. We've got obviously a few days break now leading up to the fixture, and then after that we've got a week until Liverpool. So I think it's only right to keep that momentum going. Maybe there might be a few changes like Lamptey coming in rather than Veltman, Lallana coming back into the side. But I think it's really important to keep that core squad and to keep that momentum going.
Okay, same question to you, Aaron. Would you be tempted to make changes? And if you are tempted to make changes, what changes would they be?
Yeah, I probably would like to go strong, personally. I think Borough in a great run of form. I think Carrick's done a great job since he's taken over, and they were relegation fodder when he came in, and now they're outside the playoffs, just in it, I think, if I remember rightly. And they're going to be flying. They're going to be confident. It would make sense to go strong. We got time. We got a whole week before the Liverpool game. Why not keep the momentum going? Keep the match fitness up from the World Cup. Maybe, like Joe said, a handful of changes, but nothing too major. I would probably still wouldn't start Lallana. I'll probably give Moran a start personally, and still, obviously, being the cup keeper. But other than that, I wouldn't change much else. I'll keep in, I'll start Lamptey, Dunk, Caldwell, and Purvis, and then pretty much give McAllister a start, get him some fitness back in. Just general odds and sods, really. Nothing major. I don't think it needs to be major changes, but just enough that it gives some of the players a bit of rest, but also keeps other players in and around the bench still match sharp.
Very good, very good. And finally, Curtis, what are your opinions on it? Same question. Strong, kids, where do you stand?
I mean, after the Charlton result, I hope we go out there and we really take it to them with a good, strong squad. I mean, that was so disappointing, and you hear like the ambition, from the players and talking about wanting to win some trophies at some point. And you heard Paul Barber, I think, talking about that as well. And I think that would be fantastic for us to really, really give this a really good go. So I hope that we put a good, strong squad out. And I agree with what Aaron was saying. It'd be good to mix in some of the youth in there and just really go for it. Take the ball by the horns, as they say.
Like it. For what it's worth, I'd probably make changes, but I probably wouldn't make wholesale changes. I'd probably start Steele, Lamptey, potentially Webster and Welbeck if they were fit. I'd start McAllister, get those minutes in those legs. Gilmore, perhaps, and Enciso, Sarmiento, Ferguson. I think I'd still go strong, but I perhaps would rest Solly March, Mitoma.
I'm not sure if I would start Webster over Colwell, though.
Just so if Webster is fit to play, it's just to get his minutes in the legs, because we've seen Webster returning from injury before, and he's been rusty. So it's just to get those minutes in those legs.
Can I also point out we're coming up against well-renowned ex-former Brighton striker, ex and former mean the same thing, Joe, shut up. Chuba Akpom. Yeah.
Club
plays
legend.
For Middlesbrough. So he's probably going to score.
He's also wanted by Palace as well, and Bournemouth. Chuba Akpom. I saw that today. They get linked with our trash, so that's funny.
It is funny. I mean, if that's the sort of caliber of striker they want to bring in, then more power to them. Anyway, we move. We'll see what happens against Middlesbrough, and we'll see what De Zerbi thinks. Obviously, let us know in the comment section below how you would start against Middlesbrough. Would you go strong, or would you play some of the fringe and youth players? Also, let us know who you thought was the man of the match against Everton, and any other general thoughts you have against how Roberto De Zerbi is doing. And finally, from us at Albion Obsessed podcast, Joe, why have you got your hand up? Why do you always have to ruin my outro?
Because I like to. Solly March is the GOAT.
Kurtis?
Also, make sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok, where we're really boosting our content over on those two social media bits. Me and Aaron have taken the helm of those, and we're beating it into submission. So get ready for some really good content coming from those two.
Yeah,
spaces.
check out the Albion Obsessed socials for all the amazing content that is coming out at the moment. All that's left to be said then, finally, Joe, is everyone here at Albion Obsessed Podcast wishes you a pleasant day, evening, wherever you may be, whenever you may be. Take care, and we'll see you next time. Peace.